Okay guys, now we've got part 4 and part 4 provides you another opportunity to get what you lost in part 2 and part 3 because part 4 is mainly one word only. So let's see how to deal with it. In part 4 they will always give you a part of a lecture because many of you are taking academic IELTS when you go to English speaking country, so there you're going to attend lectures. In part 4 we always have a lecture. And for a lecture, there'll be one person who is talking. That is why students often complain that in part 4, audios are fast. Okay, audios are not fast, they are fluent. When someone is delivering a lecture, when there is a dialogue, they have to speak and listen. There they can be slow and all that. But when someone is speaking fluently, then there is no break, no pause. So students think audio is fast. Audio is not fast, audio is fluent. Now let's see. One word only without any number. Bird migration theory. What is the name of the theory? Bird migration theory. So this lecture is about bird migration theory. Most birds are believed to migrate seasonally. Hibernation theory. How many theories are there? One is hibernation, second is transmutation, then 17th century, and then scientific developments. The first thing is, don't read all the notes. Only read the notes where there is the question. Okay, don't read all of them. Just where there is a question, you got to read them. But it's important to follow other notes also. Skim read them or scan them. Underline one word in other notes so that you track the audio. Tracking the audio is very important in part 4. Sometimes audio is ahead of you and sometimes you are ahead of the audio. In both cases, you will not find any answer. अगर आप audio से आगे या audio आपसे आगे, कोई भी answer नहीं मिलेगा. Because you are late for that. So you and audio should go on side by side. That is why mark important words, underline important words so that those words will take you to the audio. For example, if they say the next theory is transmutation theory, it means you have to come here. If they say first of all we are going to talk about hibernation theory, you will come over there, right? And we say now let's talk about 17th century. So these headings are given so that you could reach the right part. Now, question number 31, hibernation theory. It was believed that birds hibernated underwater. One thing is hibernated underwater or buried themselves in dash. Birds buried themselves in something. That was one of the oldest theories. Buried themselves in something. Now that's something that can be a substance. Any substance, and that will be the answer. Okay, so just keep in mind buried themselves in dash, right? Buried some themselves in something. Let's see.
Part 4. You will hear a zoology student giving a presentation on bird migration.
Scientists believe that a majority of the Earth's bird population migrate in some fashion or other. Some travel seasonally for relatively short distances, such as birds that move from their winter habitats in lowlands to mountaintops for the summers. Others, like the Arctic tern, travel more than 25,000 miles seasonally between the northern and southern poles. Bird migration has been studied over many centuries through a variety of observations. But until relatively recently, where birds went to in the winter was considered something of a mystery. The lack of modern science and technology led to many theories that we now recognize as error-filled and even somewhat amusing. Take hibernation theory, for example. 2,000 years ago, it was commonly believed that when birds left an area, they went underwater to hibernate in the seas and oceans. Another theory for the regular appearance and disappearance of birds was that they spent winter hidden in mud till the weather changed and food became abundant again. The theory that some birds hibernate persisted until experiments were done on caged birds in the 1940s, which demonstrated that birds have no hibernation instinct.
All right. Mud. For buried themselves in mud, they use the word hidden themselves in mud. Hidden. Buried and hidden, they are synonyms in IELTS language. Okay, I just play this last part of it.
Part 4.
Recognize as error-filled, and years ago it was commonly believed that when birds left an area, they went underwater to hibernate in the seas and oceans. Another theory for the regular appearance and disappearance of birds was that they spent winter hidden in mud till
They spent winter hidden in mud. Another theory or they used another theory. Birds, hidden in mud. Okay, let's go on. Transmutation theory. Aristotle believed birds change from one species into another in summer and winter. See that? The theories, they didn't know about migration, bird migration. They used to think like that. In autumn, he observed that redstarts experience the loss of dash. Now listen, this redstarts, it's actually a bird. We are talking about bird migration, so it could be a bird, right? So in autumn, he observed that. Now who observed? Aristotle. Aristotle observed that redstarts experienced the loss of dash and thought they then turned into robins. Loss of something, they started losing. For example, you say hair loss. Loss of hair and hair loss. Okay, so let's see. What is it that they started losing in winter, in autumn?
One of the earliest naturalists and philosophers from ancient Greece was Aristotle, who was the first writer to discuss the disappearance and reappearance of some bird species at certain times of year. He developed the theory of transmutation, the seasonal change of one species into another by observing redstarts and robins. He observed that in the autumn, small birds called redstarts began to lose their feathers, which convinced Aristotle that they changed into robins for the winter and back into redstarts in the summer.
Began to lose their good. So experienced the loss of and began to lose their feathers. Answer is feathers. How do you spell? Feathers. Feathers. Yeah. It's not feather. Some people pronounce it as feather. It's feathers. Okay, so experience the loss of, and for that they use the word began to lose. Now we've got question number 33. Aristotle's assumptions were logical because the two species of birds had a similar dash, something similar. For example, similar color, similar texture, similar size, right? So Aristotle's assumptions were logical because the two species of birds had a similar something. And what are those two species? Redstarts and robins.
These assumptions are understandable given that this pair of species are similar in shape, but are a
Very
classic
simple.
example
Okay,
of
species are similar in shape. So what is the answer? Yeah, you will not write in shape. If you write in shape, what will happen? Two words, exactly. It's one word only. Very good. Now, let's go on. 17th century, Charles Morton popularized the idea that birds fly to the dash in winter. Answer is a location. Okay, birds fly to the dash in winter. Fly to the means to go to a location in winter. And who said that? Charles Morton. And by the way, Charles Morton is the word which will help you track the audio. So, let's see.
The most bizarre theory was put forward by an English amateur scientist, Charles Morton, in the 17th century. He wrote a surprisingly well-regarded paper, claiming that birds migrate to the moon and back every year. He came to this conclusion as the only logical explanation for the total disappearance of some species.
Okay, birds migrate to moon. Fly to the moon and migrate to moon. Huh? What is the answer? Yes, absolutely. I play this again. Back is not the answer.
The most bizarre theory was put forward by an English amateur scientist, Charles Morton, in the 17th century. he wrote a surprisingly well-regarded paper, claiming that birds migrate to the moon and back every year.
To
He
the
came
moon
to this
and back every year. All right? Okay, question number 35, scientific developments. In 1822, a stork was killed in Germany. Now, again, it can be a bird. As we are talking about birds, so it's going to be a bird. A stork was killed in Germany, which had an African spear in its dash. Now, its means bird. So, spear is what? You know spear? Neza. So, which had an African spear in its. Its mean part of body. And part of bird's body. Clear? Yeah. Let's see. Now, it can be any part of bird's body.
One of the key moments in the development of migration theory came in 1822, when a white stork was shot in Germany. This particular stork made history because of the long spear in its neck, which incredibly had
Because
not
of the
killed.
long spear in its neck. See that? Okay, so if you understand the question, then you find the answer.